Swiss Frankie.
Yeah, full tribe in the building. Full tribe static addict. McKell's a deck media. McKell's a deck music. Yeah,
www.swissfrankie.com.
Stay focused. Yeah, how what we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused, Hebrew we got next. I preach the McKell's a dead. Stay focused. Yeah, how what we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused, Hebrew we got next. So never abandon your post.
Keep your eyes on the prize. I'm not talking about no dollar sign. The kingdom's at hand, that's the plan, my man. Spiritual gifts is what I store up. Waiting for the sun to show up. Then Babylon gon' burn up, and them gold streets gon' turn up. There'll be love for thy neighbor, will be heavenly favor. Now true love's what you get when you live in the script. So tune in to this vibration. We from his holy nation, here to give words to the ears that hear. Screaming Yahshua's coming till he appears. Cry loud and spare not brute. Now that scripture, strong in the faith in this heavenly race. Washed by the blood of Yahweh Shah, that's grace.
Stay focused. Yeah, how what we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused, Hebrew we got next. I preach the McKell's a dead. Stay focused. Yeah, how what we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused, Hebrew we got next. So never abandon your post.
Right now, the United States and Europe are trying to figure out what to do after Russia responded to their foolish decision to allow Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles and Storm Shadows missiles to strike Russia. Russia has responded with a unique missile system.
And I'm afraid that right now, Mr. Putin and his inner circle may decide that they have nothing to lose by effectively challenging us to a war.
President Putin has amended Russia's nuclear doctrine today to imply that if American weapons are used against Russian territory, which they now have been, that means that he is potentially in a nuclear confrontation with the United States. So what does that all mean? Well, the Russians have got a lot of nuclear weapons, 5,500 nuclear warheads, and it's more than the Americans have got, but they've got several thousand as well.
Is there a reason to believe that Vladimir Putin may use a nuclear weapon?
We've known for several weeks that they were revamping their policy on use of nuclear weapons. As I look at what they're doing, and we watch their strategic forces, very carefully. I don't see a change in their strategic force posture, and so we'll continue to remain vigilant in this regard. But at this point, no, I don't see an indication that there's an imminent intent to use nuclear weapons.
Shalom, family. It's your little brother Benign coming at you with another video. Now, we all can see that there's a lot of panic in the world with the discussion of nuclear war at the door. If I'm not mistaken, I think the doomsday clock was already 90 seconds till midnight before President Biden gave Ukraine the green light to launch American weapons into Russian territory. So, my guess is that the clock will be moved even closer to midnight than 90 seconds. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, are we about to witness the destruction of Babylon as prophesied in the 17th chapter of the book of Revelation? Or Russia, China, and the rest of the nations that make up BRICS, the 10 horns that shall burn with fire the woman who rides the beast, aka Babylon the Great, and leave her desolate? Is America even Babylon? And if she is, does Russia, China, and BRICS fit the role to destroy Babylon the way that it is written in the book of Revelation? Well, in order to answer these questions, we must conclude our search for Babylon. At the beginning of this series, around the third or fourth video, there was a video called The Pope's Audition. In that video, we compared the characteristics and prophecies that pertain to Babylon in the book of Revelation to see if the Catholic Church might fit the role as the woman who rides the beast, aka Babylon. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. After that video, I had said that we would audition Saudi Arabia / Dubai, the land of Israel, and the United States of America to see which one fits the role to be Mystery Babylon. Well, because of working on other videos along with lifing and having technical difficulties, I think that I might have run out of time to do those videos. Not to mention that there wasn't a whole lot of information that I could find to make the auditioning of the current land of Israel or Saudi Arabia / Dubai being Babylon worth doing or even interesting. So instead, I will show how Babylon is indeed the United States of America in this video. I will also show what I see forming in the geopolitical world that will lead to the demise of the woman who rides the beast. Now, if you disagree with my argument that America is Babylon and believe that the Catholic Church is, then I would ask that you consider my argument in the Pope's Audition video. But if you believe that Saudi Arabia / Dubai or the land of Israel today is Babylon, then I don't know what to say about that. But hopefully you'll stick around to hear my argument anyway. Now, most people I know believe that America is Babylon or the woman who rides the beast. Although we all may disagree on who the 10 horns / kings are that shall burn the whore with fire. I've once heard someone say that if you must do a lot of explaining to prove your theory, then your theory is probably far-fetched or you're reaching. Now, although this may be true in most case scenarios, I don't believe that this applies when trying to study the prophecies in the Bible. Unlike most of the other books, the Bible isn't written simplistically. It's a book of mysteries that are hard to solve, especially for the unlearned. You're talking about a book that has been around for 2,000 years, yet no one has unlocked all the mysteries found inside. The Bible was meant to be understood by using line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. And even with that, sometimes you must go outside the Bible to get the proper understanding, like into recorded and documented history as well as extra biblical books. Everything in the Bible cannot be completely understood by just staying in the Bible. Using documented and recorded history along with the Bible is how I personally came to the conclusion that the United States of America is Babylon. What the Bible sometimes do is give you a starting point to work from, sort of like how a crossword puzzle always starts off with at least one word already solved for you to start with, as opposed to having a completely empty crossword puzzle. You start with what is given and you work from there. For me, the starting point of solving the mystery of what or who is Babylon the Great was found in the book of Daniel. In the second chapter of the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream where he saw a great image of a statue whose head was made of gold, arms of silver, thighs of brass, legs of iron, and feet made of part iron and part clay. Now, after deciphering the dream for the king, Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar that the head of gold was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom of Babylon. This is the first word in our crossword puzzle, so to speak, telling us that the golden head of the statue is the Babylonian Empire that existed in 500 BC is all the information that the Bible gives on this subject in this particular chapter. It only tells us that the silver arms, the thighs of brass, the legs of iron, and the feet mixed with iron and miry clay are kingdoms or empires that will rise after the Babylonians. But it doesn't tell us who those nations or countries are. To learn who those empires are, will rise or has risen after the Babylonian Empire, we must go outside the 66 books. Now, the 66 books does tell us that it was the Persians who conquered the Babylonians in the book of Daniel and the book of Esther. But then you have to go to the Apocrypha to learn that the Greeks came after the Persians. Because in the 66 books, the story skips over the Greeks and you're already in the days of the Roman Empire by the time you get to the New Testament. But that's where the Hebrew writings end. The Bible or even the extra biblical books never talked about who will come after the Romans. But the Bible has given us a pattern to work with. We can see that each of these empires are the ones who took down the reigning empire that preceded them, meaning that there wasn't any gap of rulership between the empires on the statues. The Persians conquered the Babylonians, the Greeks conquered the Persians, and the Romans conquered the Greeks. If we stick with the pattern or formula that is already set, we can find the 10 toes by finding out who conquered the Romans. Now, keep in mind that the Romans would not be completely conquered, but would mix or merge with its conquerors, becoming a kingdom of iron mixed with clay. So, there will still be a Roman presence or influence around all the way up until the return of Christ. How do we know this? Because the rock that strikes the statue, which is the Messiah, strikes the statue at its feet, meaning that it would be the kingdom of iron, which is Rome, mixed with its conquerors, the people of miry clay, who will do battle with Yeshua upon his arrival. We did this study in a previous video called 10 Toes Found. If you haven't checked out that video, please do, so that you can see how I arrived at my conclusion. In that video, we showed who the conquerors of Rome were, and it wasn't a single nation like the Persians or Greeks, but it was a multitude of Germanic tribes who conquered Rome. Those 10 Germanic or barbarian tribes were the Celts, the Sciri, the Goths, the Lombards, the Suevi, the Burgundians, the Vandals, the Anglo-Saxons, the Alemanni, and the Franks. Now, some of these tribes were fleeing from the Huns and were chased into Roman lands. Some, like the Anglo-Saxons, were just looking for better land when they entered into the Romans' territories, while others, such as the Celts, were already dwelling in the lands that the Romans absorbed. But it was these tribes that overthrew the Roman government. Like I said, all of this is covered in the 10 Toes Found video. In that video, we showed how the Roman Empire looked in 69 AD, a few decades after the resurrection of the Messiah. All of the colored areas are where the Romans ruled, all the red and purplish and the brownish and blue colors, everywhere except for the yellow, right? While the yellow areas were considered to be barbarians or uncivilized. Now, a lot of the tribes that conquered Rome came from the Germania Magna or Great Germany area. Here's a better image to show the separation between the Roman Empire and the Germanic barbarians. Now, the Visigoths, who are represented by the blue arrows, and the Vandals, who are represented by the red arrows, were fleeing from the Huns, represented by the green arrows, and were pushed into Roman territories towards the end of the 4th century, roughly 100 years before the fall of Rome in 476 AD. Shortly after that, at the beginning of the 5th century AD, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes began to migrate into Roman territory looking for better land. By the year 420 AD, this is what the Roman territory looked like. By this time, Rome had already been split, so our focus is on the red shaded area, which is the Roman Empire that we speak of today. And you can see that, starting over in Spain, you got the Suebi, the Alans, the Vandals, you have the Visigoths, right? Over at the Germania border, you got the Franks, you got the Burgundians, and you got the Romano-Britons, which was the Anglo-Saxons. So from 100 years prior to the fall of Rome in 476, we see those Germanic tribes flowing into Roman occupied lands. These people will begin to mix with the Roman population, taking on some of the Romans' customs and traditions while injecting some of their own culture and traditions into Rome at the same time. In the year 476, it would be the chieftain of the Sciri tribe that overthrows the Roman government, making Romulus Augustus the last emperor of Rome. From this point, Western Europe would go into a dark ages for roughly 300 years, until Charlemagne the Great starts the Holy Roman Empire in the year 800 AD. So this is how Rome was divided up after its fall in 476 AD. And you can see in the dark blue is Odoacer's kingdom, who was the chieftain of the Sciri tribe who actually overthrew the Roman government. Now, to its right or to its east, you see the Ostrogoths, which are the Eastern Goths, and to its west, you see the Visigoths, which are the Western Goths. Above them, you got the Suebi, you got the Burgundy, you got the Alemanni, the Franks, the Anglo-Saxons, the Vandals. All of these people were dwelling here in this land that the Romans once occupied when Rome fell in 476 AD. Now, here's what former Rome looked like just a short 25 years after the barbarians took over. You see the same people, they're just spreading land and conquering each other and just basically moving their borders around, but it's the same people dwelling in this land. This is just 25 years later. And this is what it looked like 150 years after its fall. You see, the Frankish kingdom kind of took over where the Holy Roman Empire will end up rising from 200 years from this date over here, maybe 170 years from 633. You'll see Charlemagne's kingdom begin to rise and take over. By the year 810, which is more than 300 years after the fall of Rome, Charlemagne would begin to unite Western Europe, which was once Western Rome. At this point, the barbarians and the Romans were about 6 or 7 generations to, into mixing bloodlines, cultures, and traditions. I mean, 300 years, and let's say a generation is 50 years, although some say 30 years, but let's be generous and say 50 years, right? So 300 years, you would have about 6 generations. Now, back in 711 AD, when an Islamic army led by Tariq ibn Ziyad would invade Spain and push the Vandals and Visigoths northeast into the mountains of Spain and into French territory, but the Goths would basically recover that land in 1031 AD. By the time we get to 1492, the year Columbus sailed the ocean blue, here's what once used to be Roman territory, then became Western Roman territory, look like. We are now an entire millennial or 1,000 years of the Germanic barbarians and the Roman citizens mixing and swapping blood, culture, and traditions, truly becoming a kingdom made of iron mixed with miry clay. And here's what Western Europe looked like at the beginning of the 20th century prior to World War I. And this is what it looks like today, roughly 1,500 years since the barbarians invaded Roman lands. Today, you cannot possibly separate the Germanic tribes from the Roman people because of 1,000 years of mixing and intermingling. Today, we live in a world where the 5 days of the week all have Germanic or barbarian origin. We no longer call Monday through Friday what the Romans called those days. Those days are named after the gods of the barbarians. But the months of the year still have their Roman origins. This is what one should expect when two nations mix, becoming a kingdom mixed with iron, which is Rome, and miry clay. Whoever the miry clay are, we should see their influences, traditions, and cultures mix with the Roman culture. Like when we look at the major holidays of Western civilizations, they are all a mixture of Roman and Germanic traditions, such as Christmas. Now, both of these practices, celebrated the rising of the sun in the winter solstice. Both of them practice gift giving. and feasting on these days. But it is the Germanic or barbarian tribes where you get the Yule from, where you get the snowy scenery from, where you get the sleds from, and the reindeers from. You get the mistletoe and the eggnog and the song "Oh Christmas Tree." All that comes from the Germanic and barbarian or slash Nordic traditions mixed with the Roman traditions that gives you today's Christmas. The same is with Easter, right? Easter is considered a mixture of Roman and Celtic traditions. Now, remember that the Celtics were barbarians before they became absorbed by the Romans and then eventually gained their citizenship and became civilized or westernized, whatever you want to call it. And through that process, they have combined their traditions with the Roman traditions, which give you today's modern Easter. I mean, even the languages that the Western world speaks are all a mixture of Latin, which was the official language of the Romans, and the multitude tongues of those barbaric tribes that mix with the Romans. Like the Franks, for instance. French is a romantic language because it is a mixture of Latin, which was the official language of Rome, like I said, and the Franks' original tongue. That's why it's a romantic language. The same with Italian, the same with English. Now, 10 of these nations who emerged from the 1500 years of the Romans and barbarians mixing were forming an allegiance or an alliance with the United States and Canada called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. All of this is covered in more detail in the 10 Toes Found video and the Iron and Clay video. So after using the who conquered who formula, we can prove who the 10 toes are, showing the mixture of the cultures and traditions such as the days of the week, the months of the year, the major holidays, as well as the languages,
10 horns
only
that are on the
solidifies
beast's
Western
head
Europe
begin to hate
slash
her
NATO
and burn her
as
with
being
fire.
the 10 toes prophesied of in the book of Daniel. Now, I know that some people believe Russia, China, and Iran and the rest of the nations that make up BRICS to be the 10 toes, but none of those countries conquered Rome. Nor do we see any of those countries' cultures and traditions mix with the Romans' cultures and traditions today. The Roman infused with Nordic culture is the system that runs the world today. I mean, if the Russians or the Chinese were to make a business transaction today with any banking system ran by the World Bank, the date would read a Germanic day on a Roman month in a Roman year of our Lord. The contract would not be written on a Chinese day, month, and year. The bulk of the world navigate in a Roman and Germanic system, truly a kingdom made of iron and clay. But how does this help us to prove who Babylon is? Well, the book of Daniel tells us who will fight Yeshua when he returns. Daniel chapter 2, verse 34 says that the stone, which is Yeshua, will strike the statue on its foot, which is the kingdom made of iron and miry clay. That will be the last kingdom. While in the book of Revelation, the text reads that the 10 horns on top of the beast's heads are who will make war with Yeshua when he returns. And since we know that Yeshua only returns once, that would mean that the 10 toes on Nebuchadnezzar's statue that is smitten by the rock and the 10 horns on the beast's head that will make war with the lamb are one and the same. Therefore, the 10 horns that are on the beast's heads are the Western European nations slash NATO. Now, if you're following me so far, let's take one more step to link and connect Babylon to the United States of America. And that is the woman who rides the beast. See, unlike the horns on the beast, the woman can be separated or thrown off the beast. And this will happen. This is why Babylon will not exist at the return of Christ. The 10 horns would have already destroyed Babylon and then continued on with their ruling with the beast until Yeshua returns. But in order for the woman to be able to mount or even get on the beast to ride it, she had to be in agreement or in alliance with the 10 kings/horns. When John the Revelator saw the woman and the beast, the horns were already attached to the beast. The 10 horns has always been a part of the beast. The 10 horns didn't come and just attach themselves to the beast after the woman was destroyed or thrown off. This shows and proves that whoever Babylon is, she is an ally of the 10 horns who will eventually turn on her and destroy her. This is how the book of Daniel is a good starting point for finding out who Babylon is. Once you find out who the 10 toes are, all you have to do is look at their allies, and one of them has to be Babylon. Now, we know that the United States is an ally of the Western European nations that are made of iron, aka Rome, and miry clay, aka the Germanic tribes that sacked Rome. But let's look at more proof that the United States of America is Babylon. In the book of Daniel, the Most High gives us a characteristic of Babylon to help identify her. In Jeremiah 50:23, the Most High said that Babylon was the hammer of the whole earth, meaning that whoever Babylon is, she would have the strongest military might on the earth. She would have the ability to pound down any other country that should rise up against her. In fact, her destruction will be so shocking that the world will wonder, how is it possible that mighty Babylon became desolate? Now, does the United States of America fit the characteristic of being the hammer of the earth to the point that other nations would be shocked if she were to fall?
Let me tell you something. The United States of America is the most powerful nation on earth, period.
A superpower can be defined as a state with the ability to project power or exert influence on a global scale, usually in more than one region at a time. The United States has been the world's sole superpower since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, holding an unrivaled degree of economic and military dominance around the globe. Even today, with the rise of China, the US still remains by far the most powerful country.
On the list of countries that spend the most money on defense, the United States is at the top, to no surprise. But it's when you combine the next 9 countries' budgets together that the staggering power of the United States truly starts to come into view. Even if you add up all of the defense spending of the other 9 countries, it still comes to less than that of the United States by itself. With an annual budget of more than $900 billion, 2 million plus service members, and over 700 bases spread across the world, the United States is one bear that definitely shouldn't be poked. Pouring such huge amounts of money into defense is one of the reasons that the US is the sole superpower in the world today, currently unmatched and unchallenged in its supremacy, especially when it comes to military might.
There are 195 independent nation-states, many of which wield significant global influence. There are also nations that are seen as regional powers, and those projected to be global powers in the coming decades. However, there is no country that plays a role as significant as the United States in world affairs. America's global power is unparalleled. But why? Why is America so strong as a nation, and what makes it the most powerful country globally? In this video, we're going to break down the key factors that make America the strongest nation in the world.
The biggest sign of world power is undoubtedly military strength. In the last century, particularly since World War II, individual countries have grouped together to form massive defense alliances. Today, there are only a few countries left that are singularly militarily dominant, and the most powerful country in this regard is the United States of America. As of 2016, the US spends roughly $600 billion on defense annually, comprising 1/3 of the entire world's defense spending. The US also has direct bilateral military relationships with 54 countries and more than 800 bases in over 70 countries, with an armed force of more than 2 million personnel.
The collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s left the United States as the sole superpower in the world, and it's never looked back. In all aspects of the world, the United States is indeed a superpower, especially when it comes to its military might, which is unsurpassable in its strength, technological superiority, operational capabilities, and power projection across the globe. In this video, we'll take a look at the 5 top reasons why you wouldn't want to go against the US military establishment. The United States Air Force is the strongest in the world.
There are 195 recognized countries in the world doing their best to navigate the unforgiving arena of global geopolitics. However, only one country among them has been unrivaled as the world's supreme military power for years, the United States. And that's why it shouldn't be surprising that this military titan might be ranked as the #1 military power once again in 2024. To be fair, quantifying military power is a tricky endeavor, as the numbers don't always tell the whole story. However, the US's dominance extends far beyond mere statistics, encompassing cutting-edge technological innovation, logistical prowess, and unparalleled operational capabilities that cement its status as the world's preeminent military force.
Now, I don't think anyone would doubt that the United States of America is the most powerful country in the world, militarily wise. The United States is so much more advanced than its competition that it's said that the second and third place countries wouldn't be able to take down the US even if they were to join forces. This is why all the world will be shocked and confused because of Babylon losing this horrific attack against her. The next verse tells us that the attack shall be sudden, and a trap will be laid for her, that she will be unaware of this attack/trap. She will be, in modern terms, caught lacking or slipping, like the young folks say today. In other words, she won't see it coming. The book of Revelation chapter 18 says that she will be just chilling, feeling like a queen and untouchable. But her plague shall come upon her in one day, and she shall be burned with fire. Now, using line upon line, we prove that this act of sudden devastation will be performed by the 10 horns on the beast. We just did a brief review showing who those 10 horns are. They are the 10 toes of Daniel's statue. We found the 10 toes of Daniel's statue to be the kingdoms that were formed after the barbarians conquered Rome and mixed their customs, traditions, religions, languages, and gods with their Roman counterparts, becoming who we know as NATO or Western Europe today. Remember, when John first saw the beast, the woman and the 10 horns were already on the beast. It doesn't read as if the woman was thrown off the beast and then the 10 horns joined themselves to the beast to me. To me, it says that the woman and the beast and the horns all had the same agenda. But somewhere along the way, the horns start to hate the woman and throw her off the beast. Now, others are teaching that the 10 horns first removed the woman from the beast and then joined themselves to the beast. And that's what it would mean for Russia, China, Iran, and the rest of BRICS to destroy America and then join themselves to the beast and rule with the Antichrist till Yeshua returns. Now, all that sounds false to me, especially after already finding the 10 toes. An attack by Russia today or tomorrow would not be a sudden attack if it happened. The world has been on edge for almost 3 years waiting for the Russian-Ukraine war to turn into World War III and America being destroyed. Most importantly, this act wouldn't be performed by who we found the 10 toes to be according to our study. I mean, isn't this one of the reasons why we study? So that we could look for prophecies to be fulfilled? Isn't it so that we don't fall for the distraction? Regardless of how things look, I must stick with my own research. Or what am I studying for if I'm always going to fall for the distraction? But I guess if I'm wrong, and Russia does nuke the US, then everyone can tell me, I told you so, after the fallout. I'll be looking for you once all the dust settles. Another characteristic that the Most High gave Babylon is that she would be the land of graven images. Did you know that every religion practiced in the world can be practiced in America? Did you know that just about every religion that is practiced in the world is practiced in America? According to the Religion Census Bureau, there are about 372 religious bodies in the U.S. That is 372 different belief systems and styles of worship. That's 372 different gods and idols for these 372 religions. Some might say that there are other countries that has freedom and of religion and diversity of religion to choose from, and that is true, but those other countries don't also have the mightiest military in the world. They also aren't allies with who we found the 10 toes to be. And besides, there is one religion that they don't allow in those countries that America does, and that is Satanism. Satanism is a religion that was founded in America by Antoine LaVey in 1966. Its headquarters and about 90% of its temples are found in the United States of America. Now, to be fair, the organization's official stance is that they don't believe in Satan, nor do they worship him. However, they use all of the occult symbols associated with him inside their temples. So I'll leave it up to you on whether or not you believe them. And although there are 2 or maybe 3 satanic temples in other countries, none of them offer after-school programs to indoctrinate the children into Satanism like in the U.S.
The After School Satan Club met for the first time here at Holmes Elementary. This has controversy brewing throughout the school district and the community.
I let my kids believe in whatever the hell they want to believe in, as long as they're happy and it's not hurting them or hurting someone else.
Christina Long sorts through her kids' bag.
Got some pencils and we got a sticker.
New school supplies from her kids' new group, the After School Satan Club.
Did your kids have fun today? Oh yeah, they had a blast. They can't wait for the next one.
Good evening, I'm Scott Schaefer. We begin tonight in the Lehigh Valley, where a school district has become the first in the state to give approval to an after-school club sponsored by the Satanic Temple. It's called the After School Satan Club, and its first stop in Pennsylvania is in the Saucon Valley School District, located, ironically, just outside the borough of Hellertown.
I want to give you a look at the gathering here over my shoulder. The bagpipes have just started playing once again. This is all happening because the newly formed After School Satan Club is holding an open house to tell parents about their new program today.
Well, in case you're wondering if it's really a spiritual war we're watching, here's this news story. The Illinois Elementary School is offering an after-school Satan Club. The local school district is defending the Satan Club. It's sponsored by the Satanic Temple of the United States. The club claims it will help kids learn benevolence and empathy as well as, quote, personal sovereignty. We're going to the source on this story. Lucienne Graves is with the Satanic Temple and joins us tonight. Mr. Graves, thanks so much for coming on. So I have to ask, are parents complaining that there's an after-school Satan Club at their children's school?
Some are, but they don't have to send their children to the program. It's available for parents who do want to send their children to the program, and it's there as an alternative to religious clubs that are made to proselytize to children. Ours doesn't include items of religious opinion. It doesn't include indoctrination. It just has a self-directed learning program with trained educators there to help guide the children through different activities and projects that they want to engage in.
Where are the Satan Club's trained educators trained? Is there a
They're trained
Satan
through
school?
us.
And we stand here today in defiance of their siege and destroy their symbols of oppression.
And just to be clear, they were ripping up the Bible.
Probably heard of Comic-Con, but how about Satan-Con? Starting tomorrow, hundreds of members of the Satanic Temple will be in Boston, their convention coming to Copley Place. And as WBZ's Tammy Mutasa reports tonight, Boston's Christian community is asking their faithful to respond with prayer and not protest.
That's right, hundreds of people are expected for SatanCon here at the Copley Marriott, and you can bet a counter event is also in the works. And it's not a coincidence SatanCon is coming to Boston, given its sour history with the city. It is expected to be the largest satanic gathering in history. The sold-out SatanCon is coming to Boston with controversy. Susanna Plum is in town from Pennsylvania for her first SatanCon.
We pay our taxes. We want our communities to improve and be better. We love our kids just like everybody else. Like, we're just normal people. We just believe a little differently.
Not only does the United States offer Satan worship as a religion to children, but did you know that there are thousands upon thousands of places in the United States named after Satan, the devil, or hell. Cities like Hell, California, and Hell, Michigan. Places like the Devil's Garden in Utah and the Devil's Punch Bowl in Mississippi. Other places like Satan's Kingdom in Massachusetts and Satan's Toe, also in Massachusetts. There's even an American-produced TV show called Lucifer, where Lucifer is a good guy saving the world from crime. If you couple all that with the fact that the United States have over 372 religions, you can truly understand how America is truly the land of graven images. And there's even more proof of that that's going to come up later. The Bible gives us another hint on who Babylon the Great would be. In the book of Revelation, chapter 17, it lists another of her characteristics as being the mother of harlots. The Pope's audition, we auditioned the Catholic Church to see if she fits this category. In this video, we will audition the United States to see if she is the mother of harlots spoken of in the book of Revelation. When we look at the Greek word for mother used in Revelation chapter 17, verse 5, we get the word mater, G3384. Mater's first definition is naturally mother, but its second definition is the source of something. According to the Thayer's Greek lexicon, Revelation 17:5 is saying that Babylon is a place that harbors and produces harlots. And when you translate that Greek phrase into English, it reads the mother or source or house of fornication. Now, the Greek word used for harlots is G4204, porne. It's where we get the English word porn from. Now, what is interesting about its biblical usage is no matter which one you pick, the United States of America fits them all: prostitute, a whore, and an idolatress. Using the first biblical definition usage given, prostitute, a harlot, or one who yields herself to defilement for the sake of gain. So when combining mother with harlot's first definition, the mother of harlots can be understood to be place that harbors or houses or produces people who yield themselves to defilement for the sake of gain. Now, is the United States the source of people who defile themselves for the sake of gain? Does America produce people who defile themselves for the sake of gain? The Bible says that there isn't anything new under the sun. Holding true to that means that the United States has given the world something it hasn't seen since the other side of the Great Deluge. That is, celebrities or idols who causes millions of fans to go into a manic frenzy of glorification. With the founding of Hollywood in the 19th century, the dream of becoming an American Idol was birthed. People flocked to Los Angeles from all over the country in search for the road to fame and to become a big star. Ordinary folks who grew up on a farm or the slums can now have a chance at rubbing elbows with the royals and dining with the elite, to be worshipped, loved, and adored by millions. Hollywood would give rise to fame to people like Elizabeth Taylor and Elvis Presley, who received a level of notoriety that even kings and queens hadn't received from their own subjects. Fans would be struck by stardom and fall into a frenzy of excitement and emotions. The world hadn't seen this level of fanatics since the Romans cheered on their favorite gladiators in the arena. From a crowd of young teenage girls chasing the Beatles down the street, who weren't even that famous in their own home country until their appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964 in America, to fans passing out and fainting from the sight of Michael Jackson. The level of dopamine that these celebrities experience is more addictive than any drug on this planet. The ability to go from a poor boy from the small town of Gary, Indiana, to becoming the king of pop and worshipped around the world must be mind-bending. When was the last time the earth has seen this? I mean, no one has ever swooned and fainted over Johann Sebastian Bach or even Shakespeare.
Oh, Shakespeare.
Hello, ladies. But that road to stardom comes with a heavy price to pay, and many are willing to pay it. There is no limit to what one might do to make it big in America. From Jeffrey Epstein to Harvey Weinstein, from R. Kelly to P. Diddy, we have all heard the nasty rumors about what goes on in Hollywood and the music industry. It's said that in order to make it big in these two industries, one must be willing to lay themselves down on the casting couch, if you know what I mean. An inspiring actor or musician must be willing to do whatever it takes to make it big, and you would not believe how many people are willing to prostitute themselves for gain. Like the first biblical definition of the word harlot used in Revelation 17:5 says. People from all over the world now flock to the United States for a chance to become a big superstar like Idris Elba and others like him. I mean, America is without a doubt the source, producer, and harborer of those such people who would defile themselves for filthy lucre.
It's a level of success where it's a door. It's a door. When you platinum and you getting 50,000 a show, I've been there. There's a door that you could walk in. I'm not sure if it's homo or if it's Illuminati. I just didn't take that though. I went straight.
What do you mean?
Listen. When you get to a level of success, when you getting 30, 40, 50,000 a show, you platinum, you running across the world. There's 3 different doors, right? There's 3 different ways to walk. There's to the left. There's to the right, and then there's straight.
ABC News exclusive. Ashley Judd telling her story. It's her first television interview since going public with her claims against Harvey Weinstein. In many ways, her allegation helped ignite a firestorm. Now more than 65 women have come forward.
At one point, he asked her to come into the bathroom and watch him take a shower. I had with me a list of the different defenses the women who've come forward say they tried to use to escape. That light tone of voice designed not to offend someone powerful.
Laughing, frozen, panicked. One person said, I sang.
Yeah.
I just started singing.
We act like we're about between 3 and 6 years old in those moments.
But she has an idea. Make a deal. An encounter someday.
And he kept coming back at me with all this other stuff. And finally, I just said, when I win an Oscar in one of your movies, okay? And he was like, yeah, when you get nominated. I said, no, when I win an Oscar. And then I just fled.
Straight is you're on your own. Let's see if you continue this success, young man. Okay. Let's see if it's all about your skills, young man. Let's really see that when you went straight. To the right, I'm not sure if that's the homo shit right there.
He said, yo, Jay been trying to sign me. I'm like, yo, why wouldn't you sign? He said, because I don't want a label playing with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. That's real.
That means playing with, because I'm going to expose, that means playing with your butt. You know what I mean? No, listen, I'll be honest, look, because I've been doing music. No, because I feel like we gotta put it out there. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of, listen.
Two way goes.
You edit it out, listen, you edit it out. No, listen, because I feel like.
That's not what he meant, by the way, but go ahead.
No, listen.
Not what he meant,
I'm not saying what he meant. I'm just saying in general because I feel like a lot of people, like, I had like 2 record deals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
they wanted your butt?
Yeah. It's not even funny. I'm keeping it real, right? It's not even funny. Now, saying is, they proposition you. They do things indirectly. Like they might send a stylist at you, right? Listen, they might send a stylist at you.
Wear this.
And the stylist is being all extra tight. Listen, homie, we ain't doing that. Or they might invite you to a party and there's no bitches there. It's a sausage party. Wait, hold on, I'm out. You saying, you know what I mean? So a lot of guys, artists that get into this game, they want to get deals. They get in, they got talent, they got good intentions, and then
have you been to these parties personally? Have you seen them?
You can't get.
That's a Doggy Diamonds question. Shout out Doggy Diamonds.
Right.
Shout out Doggy Diamonds.
You can't make it to the real party because somewhere if you're not a homosexual, they got a filtering out process.
Yeah.
So they'll send a stylist, they'll have you out and about because they trying to drug you. So you be in a studio session late at night and they'll see if you a meatball, yo bro, here hit this blunt. You ain't see the blunt get rolled,
Yeah,
or
fact.
yo, bro, take this drink right here. And you like, hold on, bro, listen, homie, I ain't with that. And some dudes that get drunk, like I've been in studios with artists, famous artists, and I seen niggas take a bottle that wasn't theirs and they in the studio all woozy. I'm like, I'm out.
So I was last night and I got a message on Instagram from some guy I used to know for a long time, etc., etc. He goes, hey, let's have a cigar. I said, okay, cool, let's have a cigar. We met, we had a cigar, and he said, hey man, I just want to show you some videos. And he showed me some videos of him with some very famous people. I won't say their names, some famous people. And he said, bro, you need to be careful. I was like, what? He goes, when I was hanging around with these people, he was saying they had to sell their soul to a degree to get that level of influence. These are like some of those famous people.
Yeah.
He's saying that the people who are in charge of controlling the narrative don't like people who have a huge influence who they don't control to some degree. And then about 4 hours after this conversation, maybe about 2 a.m. last night, I got a message on my WhatsApp saying, hey, my name is XX. I'm friend of this guy. This is where I got your number. We want to invite you to a private party. There's a private island we want to invite you to. And I was like, this is weird.
And then there's to the left, I'm not sure if there's some sacrifice shit going on right there. I'm not sure because I went straight. But I was offered these doors.
It's just you were offered some gay shit?
I don't, no. I'm saying that to the right when I seen it, those was those guys over there. You know what I'm saying? Those different people, which I have no problem with. You know, that's y'all. You feel me? And I just chose to go straight, and I haven't been platinum since.
We have the ability to let our voices be heard and break the dam of silence.
Corey Feldman once again opening up about the dark side of the spotlight. In a new YouTube video, the former child star vowing to expose a ring of Hollywood pedophiles who he claims abused thousands of children.
When I look back at a picture of when I was 15 years old and I was surrounded by 5 men, and every one of those men in that photograph is a pedophile, that's a pretty big problem. I was molested, and I said yes. I allowed it to happen. But I was a child.
I was told that this is everyday business, and he made me feel like I have to do that in order to get any job.
Now, the second definition usage given for the word harlot is to perform unlawful sex. Leviticus chapter 17 through chapter 19 gives us a list of the forbidden sex acts. These crimes against the laws of the Bible are called acts of fornication. Adultery, homosexuality, and whoremongering are just 3 of those laws. So when combining mother with harlot's second definition, the mother of harlots can be understood to be place that harbors or houses or produces people who indulge in unlawful sexual intercourse. Is America the source of people indulging in unlawful intercourse? Now, these acts of physical fornication are not new to the world and didn't start in the United States. In fact, the Greeks and Romans were known to practice homosexuality, but they would be considered still in the closet by modern day standards. In these cultures, homosexuality was accepted as long as the men remained masculine. But men didn't dress like women, and women didn't dress like men. That was unacceptable. Once the Romans and barbarians all converted to Christianity, homosexuality began to fade out. It wouldn't be until the 20th century and the sexual revolution of the 1960s when homosexuality and the modern and LGBTQ movement that you know of today would rise. The year 1969 was an interesting year. The world changed this year in particular. The women's liberation movement, which started off innocent in my opinion, women just wanted jobs at first, but that ambition would be taken and corrupted. Somehow the woman's desire to be more than just a homemaker turned into the sexual revolution. The sexual revolution and the famous burning of the bras in 1968 then turned into free sex for everyone. That same year of 1969, the world will now see again what it hadn't seen since the days of the ancient Saturnalia celebrations of the Romans. A huge, severely intoxicated and enumerated mass of people having sex, called Woodstock.
Starting at university in Michigan in 1969, Amy Cohen had freedom her mother's generation had never known.
It was just like a new world had opened up to me. I'm 19 years old, I'm at a big university, and the world is telling me, and Betty Friedan is telling me, I can do anything I want. It's like going from 0 to 100, and your mind spins.
The LGBTQ movement saw its opportunity to rise on the back of the women's liberation and the effects that Woodstock had on the nation. Sex was no longer confined to the bedrooms of married couples or a trip to the local brothel. There was now a thing called casual sex. Women can now lay with whoever she chooses, whenever she chooses, and with as many as she pleases, without shame or shotgun wedding. With millions of young adults and teenagers now with the mindset to make love, not war, homosexuality was able to get in on this new free love movement. In that same year of 1969, a brick will be thrown to set off the famous Stonewall riots. That riot would eventually lead to the passing of the same-sex marriage laws that took the world by storm, not just in the United States.
In 1776, being gay in any of the Puritan colonies was not allowed.
Jeez, so when did things start to change for the better?
It wasn't until the 20th century that we started to see progress. Gay bars were popping up in major cities, but were frequently raided by the police because being gay was still illegal in every state except Illinois. One of these bars was the popular Stonewall Inn in New York City. On the morning of June 28, 1969, the patrons of the Stonewall Inn decided they weren't going to take it.
Hell yeah.
A black transgender woman named Marsha P. Johnson is credited with leading the uprising that started the modern gay rights movement and putting the T in LGBT. Now, every November, the T's and their supporters recognize Transgender Awareness Week. Activist groups like ACT UP, the Gay Men's Health Crisis, Lesbian AIDS Project, and the Names Project emerged and refused to be ignored. This newly empowered gay community had one goal.
What was that?
To come out. They thought the problem with homophobia was that people didn't know other people who were gay. And if more people came out, they would be seen for who they are and not just as a stereotype. Convincing people to come out was still a tough task, but things got easier in 1997 when Ellen appeared on the cover of Time magazine and told the world, "Yep, I'm gay." After that, more and more gay people started appearing in TV and movies, helping millions feel more confident to love who they want. Being gay was more accepted, but there were still a lot of rights that gay people didn't have. However, they did have something they didn't have before.
What?
Allies. Yeah, in 2003, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize marriage equality. And 12 years later, it was legal in all 50 states, much in thanks to a majority of Americans who supported it.
These acts of unlawful intercourse, in particular adultery, homosexuality, and whoremongering, would spread throughout the Western European civilizations and eventually to even Eastern civilizations like India and Thailand.
What the American women were doing was reported around the world and spawned similar campaigns in Europe.
Woman in position to achieve felicity. We will vote ourselves in power with our own majority for its liberation time.
In America, they'd started to burn their bras and a women's movement had already begun. We thought, if they can do it, we have to do it in Holland.
In 1970, Rita Hendricks helped found the Dutch feminist group Dolomina, which spread the word in Amsterdam.
To publicize the campaign, we used television and radio. It was the first time something like this had been tried, and it came bang straight into thousands of homes.
Bam, in duizenden huiskamers.
We were so badly organized. We didn't have an office, a phone number, or a bank account. Within a month, we had 3,000 to 4,000 members. There were 18 of us at the beginning. It was really incredible.
We hadden dus een actie tegen het
We had
waarschuwen
action
voor het
days.
huwelijk, voor
We protested at the town hall when this couple got married.
bij een bruidspaar.
Actiegroep de Wilhelmina wil afschaffing van de vrouwenslavernij. Ze bent er echt niet voor.
Wat moet ik nog
Kijk bij dat boekje maar eens, ik ben het hier helemaal mee eens. Echt een lekker stuk uitzoeken, hè? Een echte goeie. Hè? Zo werkelijk die er ook goed uitziet en niet zo'n halve slapper. Het was leuk, we hadden er plezier in.
It was fun. We were young, enthusiastic, and we really thought we'd change the world.
The Netherlands will be the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage in April of 2001, beating the first U.S. state to the punch. Massachusetts would legalize same-sex marriage in March of 2004. The United States as a whole would not legalize it until 2015. Now, although the Netherlands were the first to legalize same-sex marriage, make no mistakes about it. The global LGBTQ movement owes its existence to the Stonewall Riots of 1969 and the Christopher Street Parade of 1970, which became the world's first Pride Day parade. Even Denmark and the Netherlands pay homage to these two events and recognize that the influence that these American riots and parades had on their population is what led to the same-sex laws in their lands. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5 says that Babylon will be the source of fornication and abominations of the earth. Verse 2 says that she would cause the nations of the earth to drink from her cup of fornication as well.
Like, I've attended every Delhi Pride in last 8 years, and then after 3 years it's happening, so very happy, and it has to happen, right? I mean, it's time that we come out as always and raise our voices, because Pride is just not a celebration, it is also a protest, right? It is a very political statement going out to the government that there's a large community in play and their rights needs to be met and we need to be heard equally.
Happy Pride Budapest!
Thousands of Hungarians joined the annual Budapest Pride March on Saturday to support LGBTQ people and protest against a law that limits teaching about homosexuality and transgender issues in schools. Hungary's nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, in power since 2010, has introduced social policies that he says aim to safeguard traditional Christian values from Western liberalism.
Thailand has become the first country in Southeast Asia to legalise same-sex marriage.
Think that it's safe to say that the U.S. fits the role of mother of harlots who caused the nations of the earth to drink from her cup of abominations. She has spread her love of indulging in unlawful sex across the globe. So far, she fits definition 1, both A and B. Now let's look at the third definition for the word porne. Metaphorically, it means an idolatress. The example given, or i.e., an example, is wrong. Now, this definition isn't saying that Babylon is wrong, but that Babylon would be an idolatrous like Rome. Well, the book of Revelation was written somewhere around the year 96 AD. So, if the author was meaning to compare future Babylon the Great to the Rome of his day, we must know what the Rome of the first century was like. One thing that ancient Rome was known for was her abundance of statues of her gods, as well as statues of her rulers, soldiers, and heroes that the Romans deified. These graven images were scattered throughout the Romans' territory. It is said that there were 50,000 statues of Emperor Augustus alone. According to this third definition, Babylon the Great would be similar. Babylon would deify her great leaders as well. And the United States of America doesn't fall short on its idolization of former presidents. From the graven images of her leaders to the temples and memorials made to honor/worship them. This is why temples like Abraham Lincoln's Memorial and George Washington's Masonic Memorial look like places of worship, because they are. It's an eerie feeling being inside of Lincoln's Memorial. The ginormous size image of the former president looking down at his subjects willing to grant their prayers. Not only does the United States have 372 different religions, all with different styles of worships and different gods, but even her historical memorials are built as shrines and holy places for the public to come and pay homage to their idols. Some people hold these presidents on the level of a god. Some even pray to these presidents.
If you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please. I'm asking you. Please save me. Please save me. Please get these people away from me. In dear God's name, please stop this.
I remember as a little boy that the two generations before me would have a picture of MLK, JFK, and Jesus on their walls or on their coffee tables. They celebrated mere men on the same level of who they perceived to be God, just as the Romans did. And it still continues to this day. Say the wrong word to the wrong person about Barack Obama or Donald Trump, and you just might start a fight or get excommunicated from the family. These are people's heroes, idols, and for some, saviors. There is a level of reverence and worship given to these people. But what makes the U.S. worse than Rome is that the worship of man doesn't end with the elite. We talked about how the average person could make it to Hollywood and defile themselves so that they can be worshipped like gods. The real American dream is to become an American idol. But with these idols, you don't have to go to a temple to worship them. The United States will bring these idols to your living room through your television. The American people will develop one-sided relationship with these stars and begin to idolize them and start to want to be like Mike. These celebrities become larger than life to the public. The celebrities even receive a golden graven image for being the best idol of the year. The public will closely follow these idols, aspiring to be like them. The idols will have major influences on the public's opinions and beliefs. They will influence how we should look, what demeanor and attitude we should have, what foods to eat, what clothes to wear. Everything from political opinions down to how to decorate your house, what your relationship should look like to how you should prepare your food. From Swifties to the Beehive, from the MAGA movement to the Oprah Winfrey devotees. People look to these to guide their steps in life. Very similar to the way an ancient warrior put his life into the hands of his gods. The United States is truly the mother of harlots in all aspects of its definition. It is the place that harbors and produces people who would defile themselves for gain. It is also the source of unlawful sexual intercourse that has spread it throughout the world. And it is the chief seat of idolatry in the world. The United States passed the test of being the mother of harlots with flying colors. She is the house of fornication, without a doubt. There is another hint that the Bible gives us as to who Babylon the Great would be. In the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verses 4 and 5 says that God's people or the children of Israel, would be in Babylon in the last days. He tells them to come out of Babylon and be not partakers of her sins. Now, those who believe Babylon to be the Catholic Church understands this to be referring to who they call the real Christians, to leave the pagan practices that the church celebrates, like Christmas, Easter, and trunk or treat on Halloween, to basically come out of the non-biblical practices that the church partakes in. But this verse isn't telling a physical people to leave a non-physical religion or ideology. But this verse is telling a physical people to leave a physical place. How do we know that? Because verse 6 tells those same people mentioned in verse 4 to pay back double to Babylon what Babylon has done to them. Since he is telling a physical people to do something physical to a physical place called Babylon, I'm wondering, how can a church follower physically pay back the church for the lies that the church has taught them? Wherever Babylon is, God's people are in her, and Babylon has done something to them that the angel told them to pay back double. Now, if you believe that God's people are these people here, then you are probably thinking, well, what the heck did the U.S. do to these people that they should pay her back double? But if you believe God's people to be these people, then Revelation 18 verses 6 through 8 should make complete sense to you. But the purpose of this segment of the video is to show that whoever Babylon is, the children of Israel are within her. Revelation 18 gives us another clue as to who Babylon would be. In verse 11, it says that the merchants of the earth would all weep once Babylon is destroyed, and that is because verse 15 says that they were made rich by her. Babylon would have the greatest economy of its time. Not only would it have the greatest economy, but it would have a hegemony over the earth, meaning that it is through her currency and banking system that the world must navigate through. The fact that the merchants are sad when Babylon is destroyed because no one will buy their products anymore shows that Babylon is a major importer. Usually being the largest exporter is what gives you a great economy, not being the largest importer, unless you are the woman who rides the beast. The woman who rides the beast is the one who is in charge of the B.R.I.C.s system. All transactions, whether buying or selling, would come through her. To the other nations, it would be better to be on her good side instead of her bad, lest she says that you can no longer participate in global economy by putting sanctions on you. Now, does the U.S. have the #1 economy in the world? If America were to fall, would the exporters of the earth worry about who else they could ship their merchandise to and make the same money that they made from the U.S.? Does all sales and transactions somehow go through her, as if she is the central bank? Does she have the power to put sanctions on your country to make it so that no other country can buy or sell with you, forbidding you to participate in global economics?
This is an American $1 bill. A green piece of paper, a specific blend of linen and cotton, stamped and numbered. And in most places around the world, it represents one thing and one thing only: the terrifying might of the most powerful state in all of human history. A military force unrivaled by the next 10 combined, a colonial power with territorial holdings throughout the Western Hemisphere, and an economic titan capable of controlling resources and the flow of money in just about every corner of the world. This is the story of the American Empire.
Between 1944 and 1971, when Richard Nixon destroyed the Bretton Woods system that the Americans had created. He destroyed it because the whole point about the Bretton Woods system was that it was a managed international dollar system predicated upon, based upon the American trade surplus, along with its trade deficit. It is the only power in the world that became stronger as a result of going deeper into a deficit. That has never happened before. How did they succeed in doing it? And this is your answer. By maintaining a strict monopoly on international payments.
730 delegates from all 44 allied nations came together in a small vacation haven in New Hampshire. Their goal? To establish a global financial system that would prevent another Great Depression and World War. The resulting agreement, called the Bretton Woods Agreement, ultimately became the backbone of the global financial system, resulting in the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. By creating these institutions, the United States committed itself to being deeply involved in the world's problems.
Since World War II, the global economy has been absolutely dominated by the US. Part of that is because the GDP of this country is massive. A lot of trade happens between the US and other countries. But that's only a small, declining part of the full-scale economic power of the US. Once again, after World War II, the US, along with the IMF and the World Bank, two institutions in which the US is the only country with veto power, by the way, went to work opening countries up to American money. Through policies like the Marshall Plan in Europe and conditional loans in the Global South demanding countries reduce their government spending and sell off their assets to American corporations, the US fashioned a global order in which American capital, much like the American military, could freely move in and out of most countries. This unprecedented access to the resources and wealth of other countries means that, by 2012, American companies owned 46% of all publicly listed shares of the top 500 corporations in the world. For a country representing about 4% of the world's population, this gives American CEOs unrivaled power and control over the wealth produced globally. See, to participate in the global economy today, you pretty much need US dollars, particularly if what you're trying to buy is oil, which pretty much every country wants and is priced against the dollar. While countries can sometimes trade in their own currencies with some reciprocity, it often isn't possible to supply all your needs without using dollars. And this means that most countries' central banks are forced to add dollars to their international reserves if they want to have access to the outside world. Many countries are now, therefore, deeply embedded in American monetary policy, whether they want to be or not, allowing the US's ability to create new money or tweak interest rates to dictate massive chunks of the global economy in its favor with a single keystroke. The final way the US flexes its economic power is through sanctions. Here again, nobody is on the US's level. Today, 1/3 of all nations and around 60% of all poor countries now face some form of US sanctions. In total, the US has some 15,000 active sanctions, 3 times as many as the next country and breaking all historical records. This, and the fact that so much trade happens in dollars, means that denying access to the dollar, like many sanctions do, can completely cripple countries.
The system that we live in today is the B.R.I.C.s system. The U.S. is without a doubt the one who controls the system for now, because she is the woman who rides the beast. She is currently an ally to the 10 horns on the beast's head, or the Western nations. She is the hammer of the earth, and all nations will be shocked when she falls. She is the mother of harlots and source of those who prostitute themselves for gain, the source of unlawful sex spreading throughout the globe. She is also the chief seat of idolatry. Her hegemony over the world is how the merchants who become rich from her today will mourn when she falls. She has the power to stop other nations from participating in the B.R.I.C.s system with her sanctions. Either you play by her rules or you don't play at all. Staying true to our research, we have found who Babylon is. She is the United States of America. And according to our study, she will be destroyed by the 10 horns of the beast's head, who are the Western Europeans. It will not be the B.R.I.C.s nations that will destroy the U.S. because they are not the 10 horns on the beast's head. So as far as I'm concerned, all this rhetoric about Russia destroying the U.S. and World War III popping off is all nonsense and a distraction to me. My study shows different. Now, if I'm correct about the United States being Babylon and Western Europe being the 10 toes that will burn her with fire, then the first thing that I should be looking for is the alliance between the U.S. and NATO to erode.
23 of the 28 member nations
are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States.
At the 2018
and eventually
summit,
break.
allies said
At
Trump
some
threatened
point,
to pull
the
the
Tin
United
Horns
States
have
out
to
of the
start to
alliance
hate the woman.
if European
And we are seeing
nations fail
evidence
to
of that
increase
today.
military spending.
If it is the Most High's will, I will do follow-up videos to show the NATO alliance breaking in hopes to ensure you that my study is solid. But until then, family, stay safe, stay prayed up, and if you don't do anything else, stay focused. Shalom.
Stay focused. Yeah, how will we choose? We worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused. Don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused. Israelite blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused. Hebrew, we got next. I preach the Mikhail's a dead. Stay focused. Yeah, how will we choose? We worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused. Don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused. Israelite blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused. Hebrews, we got next. So never abandon your post.